Three, two, one. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Pharma Chirpcast. On today's podcast, we'll be talking about the significance of Asian regionalism, its positive and negative points, and impact to the global market, and how regionalism will facilitate recovery and growth of Asian countries. So, if you search Asian regionalism on Google, the definition that would appear that it is the product of economic interaction, not political planning. As a result of successful outward-oriented strategies, Asian economies have grown not only richer but also closer together. So, at this moment, let's ask our friends kung ano ang thoughts nila sa topic ng podcast natin today. Ang first share natin is our friend Yalova. So, Yalova?
Good day. So today we will be discussing a reflective critique of the given articles. So for the first question, define and explain the significance of Asian regionalism. So regionalism is a political philosophy that favors a single territory over a bigger area. So the common factors include political divides, religious geographies, cultural barriers, language regions, and managerial splits. So the goal of regionalism is to increase administrative power and persuade all or some of a region's population. Regionalists say that creating local governing bodies and civil authorities instead of a national regime will significantly increase local populations by improving local economies through resource allocation and the implementation of local policies and plans. Second question is emphasize the positive and negative points presented in the articles. So, for the positive points, many other countries want to strengthen their relations with the ASEAN. The ASEAN members have benefited from the agreements reached amongst ASEAN countries. Having more support and accords opens up more opportunities for the ASEAN countries. ASEAN regionalism assists in the stabilization of global financial markets. Through collaboration, the ASEAN states support each other's growth. This agreement gives the United States a larger worldwide footprint, allowing it to control the flow and stabilize the global financial market. And for the negative points, the problems of one ASEAN country are also the problems of other ASEAN countries. So problems like the COVID-19 pandemic's economic calamity will set off a chain reaction among ASEAN countries, prompting them all to strive to recover as much as possible before additional harm occurs. More developed ASEAN nations such as Singapore will face more pressure or responsibility to assist less developed ASEAN representatives. Third question is discuss its impact to the global market and how regionalism will facilitate recovery and growth of ASEAN countries. So it is crucial to realize that economic benefits aren't always obtained through trade. Certain benefits may be obtained through partnership investment and financial activities. So the main reason for trade's advantages is because universal, unrestrained marketing allows buyers and organizations to buy from the cheapest source of supply, ensuring that production is concentrated where it has the most comparative advantage. Moreover, the ASEAN's collaborative character helps in the unification of these smaller states in order to develop a larger position in the global market. So this presence helps in generating a stronger influence on the global market and assisting in maintaining equilibrium and assisting in market recovery during time of crisis.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Yalova. So, as stated niya kanina, regionalism is a political philosophy and ang goal nito is to increase administrative power and persuade all or some of a region's population. So ngayon, we will proceed to our next guest speaker. Ang next is si Nix. Nix, take the floor.
discuss my take on regionalism and Asian regionalism. So, first, I would like to define and explain the significance of Asian regionalism. So, for me, Asian regionalism may contribute to the development of a region, promoting local governments to pool their resources, skills, and energy to generate more effective planning and a larger budget to provide stronger and effective strategies in maintaining the peace and economic growth of their country. Also, with the help of right policies implemented by non-corrupt government officials, it may also minimize inequality. Next, I would also like to emphasize the positive and negative points presented or seen in the articles. First, for the positive point, I noted that ASEAN addressed the rising energy demand and the urgent need for transitioning to affordable renewable energy. It is noted that in one of the articles, in Southeast Asia, electricity consumption is expected to double by 2040, with an annual growth rate of roughly 4%, which is twice as fast as the rest of the globe. Because of the increasing need for fossil fuels to supply such demand, it is critical to transition to inexpensive renewable energy. This is also a beneficial transition to global south countries as it is not costly and is all in all beneficial to our planet. Next, I would like to emphasize the negative point, which is that existing trajectories or problems are unlikely to change significantly. An example of this, given in one of the articles, would be the COVID-19 case. Despite the varying normalization routes across the region and the present Omicron wave, it is expected, or it was supposed to be expected, that this pandemic would ease through next year. However, new variants may arise, and people who are not following simple protocols and guidelines, that is, of course, noticed in our country, may contribute to the significant increase of cases, as well as lessening the probability of the COVID cases to be eased. And with this, it would negatively affect Asia's economy significantly. Now, lastly, I would like to discuss the impact of this to the global market and how regionalism will facilitate recovery and growth of Asian countries. So, for me, economic interaction produces Asian regionalism. Asian economies have grown not only richer but also closer together as a result of successful, outward-oriented economic methods. New technical trends have reinforced Asian countries to link even further. Because in the early stages of Asia's economic takeoff, regional integration proceeded slowly. And with this, a number of cases are contributing to the expansion of Asian intra-regional trade. This include increases in regional income, the removal of trade barriers, and advancements in the production and distribution of technologies. And that is all.
Thank you for sharing your insights. So reiterate ko lang yung sinabi niya on her takeaways, impact ng regionalism sa global market. So according to her, economic interaction produces Asian regionalism. Asian economies have grown not only richer but also closer together as a result of successful outward-oriented economic methods. So ngayon, let us proceed to our next sharer. Aaron, take the floor.
So for the first question, define and explain the significance of Asian regionalism. A positive dynamic and outward-looking Asian regionalism could bring great benefits not just to the Asian region, but to the whole world. It could help sustain the region's continued expansion and self reliance, and underpin its growing stability, and with the right policies between Asian nations, help reduce inequality. Regionalism instead of nationalism can in certain situations provide companies from Asian countries economies of scale and scope and relative cost advantages in the field of transport costs. For the next question, emphasize the positive and negative points presented in the articles. So for the positive points that I have found on the articles is regionalism has a positive impact on competition and market expansion due to the effect of declining costs leading to the existing supply of cheaper goods. In the Philippine settings, with the full integration of the ASEAN countries, investments, services, job skills, and a free market will enable the Philippines to have economic prosperity, and the benefits will eventually trickle down to the citizens' benefit. Cooperation is the key ingredient to make ASEAN a success. It is not about signing treaties or agreements, but it is the people to fulfill the dreams of the ASEAN founders. Once achieved, it will extend beyond borders and will boost national security, international trade, reducing poverty and economic competitiveness. For the negative points, the negative impacts of regionalism include the possibility for each individual city or country to lose their respective independence and or identity. And for the last question, discuss its impact to the global market and how regionalism will facilitate recovery and growth of Asian countries. So, regionalism renders nations next to each other economically married and bonded, meaning they are all tied to economic policies from the same source. It also means these nations are under one customs union, meaning trade between them is frictionless, meaning all barriers to trade are dealt with. Examples: no tariffs, no quotas, no environmental and quality standards. Regionalism means making trade the easiest thing in the region and making cash. It simply means making a single big market out of the small different single markets from the nations in the region. It is far more productive to think of a big integrated market trading goods worth $200 million, for example, than to think of a small market trading goods worth only $80 million. In a growing, interconnected world, integration has become the mother of frictionless trade, economies of scale, and etc. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Aaron. Now, last but not the least, Ayana. Go, Ayana.
Asian regionalism is the structure and policy architecture of the world economy. As it emerges from the historic challenges now underway, will be affected by the dramatic rise of Asian economies and deepening connections among them. Asia is
same geographic region. Both interstate and sub-state regionalism has occurred in response to the spread of such markers in order to preserve distinct cultural attributes and effective flow of trades in the global market. Regionalism has responded to cultural and economical globalization through an increase in cultural identity and the rise of regionalist parties conducive in the development of one's region.
Thank you so much sa ating mga dearest guests sa pag-share ng kanilang thoughts. Pero before tayo mag-end, nag-send ang isa nating listener na si David ng kanyang thoughts. According to him, Asian regionalism is important to have this because it will improve the economy of the country. It is not really the main factor, but it will have an impact. This would prevent wars because Asian countries would want to have a good relationship and good economy. Ang positive side nito ay this would prevent wars because Asian countries would want to have a good relationship as stated niya kanina. But on the negative side, it would be a fierce competition for the countries. To some extent, it is great, but combine it to a country that has a high unemployment rate would be a disaster. So, thank you so much sa pag-share ng thoughts mo, David. So, to wrap it up lang, as regionalism can decrease trade barriers, many people can buy products at such a cheap price. It is a win-win solution for both the people and the government. However, in case taxes would play a huge role in the market and a lot of businesses might not survive because of taxes. So thank you so much for listening to Pharma Chirpcast. Till our next podcast. Bye!